Aloha, my love. Helena Das here, and today I have a special story I want to share with you about my beloved Hannah Bear, a beautiful chestnut Arabian mare who is no longer with me on this plane, but still guides me from the spirit realm. And I want to share with you how she connected me in the most magical way to the Celtic horse goddess Epona. But before I share that story with you, I have a super exciting announcement that I want to make sure I don't forget to make. And that is that I have been guided to host a very special living transmission experience. And I'm calling it that because it's not a coaching program, it's not a course, it's not more information that you're not going to do anything with that is just going to become shelf help. It is literally a living, breathing transmission that wants to be called EPONA'S FLAME. And the reason I call it a transmission is because, in case you don't know this about me, and I really don't talk about this that often, but I am emerging more and more from the spiritual closet and letting more of my woo out, is that I am a vertical channel, and I have an incredible spirit team, my spirit oneness support team that I call Team SOS for short, who has been guiding me and growing since my spiritual awakening back in around 2008. And so what am I trying to say? I want you to know that this program, this immersion, this living experience is something that I'm just trusting to come through me as I go. I'm not kind of necessarily planning it out, although some of the structure and pieces, I'm sure I will have in place by the time we open the gates. But it's really something very special and different to anything I've done before. And while I have done live transmissions and activations, it's something that I feel like, again, I haven't highlighted enough as one of my superpowers, like as one of the things that makes the work that I do so unique and different than what you might be seeing out there that's in a similar vein or niche, even though I don't like that word. Anyway, so this transmission wants to be called EPONA'S FLAME, and it is all about really supporting the spiritual, sensitive, renegade horsewoman who is ready for a summer softening, who is ready to slow down, to speed up, who is ready to focus and prioritize more on who she is being over what she is doing, because she gets that this not only creates feminine momentum, but that her energy is her strategy. Her energy, your energy, is the most precious and valuable asset you will ever have. And when you focus on your energy and who you are being and how you are feeling and your frequency and all the things, right? You're gonna get the most bang for your buck, right? There is that, I think it's called Pareto's principle, if I'm correct, 80-20 rule, right? Where 80% of the results that you are creating and experiencing in your reality are coming from the energy, and 20% is the strategy, is the doing piece, is the human efforting piece, right? And so when you are coming from your human self, right, this is where we get trapped in coming from survival mode, coming from fear or doubt or lack. Whereas when we are connected and tapped into our higher self, our source self, our God self, whatever word you want to use, now we are not only plugged into something greater, but anything and everything becomes possible. And it gets to often happen with more ease and grace and elegance because you are not having to do the heavy lifting. Yes, you still will take action, but it's aligned action. And it's, again, who you are being when you're taking the action. You're not forcing, you're not pushing, you're not hustling. You're literally allowing yourself to be that woman, that relaxed, regulated, radiant horsewoman who has this embodied presence and calm confidence that is magnetic. So you're not having to chase things. And so this is where we're bringing in the feminine, bringing in the unseen, right? Because the spirit realm is in the unseen. And that is why I think there's a song, right, that God is a woman, right? Because the feminine is that unseen, mysterious, intuitive, invisible energy. And the masculine really is about the systems and the structures and the support. And so this can be with your life, this can be with business, and in our relationship with horse specifically, one of the pieces that has been sort of this golden thread for me from the very beginning, hearing this mantra that part of my mission was to empower the sacred feminine with the medicine of the horse. And like when I first heard it, and this is back again, a few decades, I didn't know what exactly it meant. It resonated a truth and this vibrational frequency that felt magical, but I didn't really at that time get the depth of what those words meant. Fast forward to me now, horse is really this sacred channel and portal to source, and is creating, whether it is that mirror reflection or guidance, whether it's literally, if we're on their back, that like physical structure that is helping us anchor more deeply and ground and connect with the earth. Because of course, as above, so below. The only way that we can fully tap into, or more fully tap into, source and our higher self or divine intelligence is by more deeply grounding, more deeply embodying our sacred body temple, right? As above, so below. It's that grounding rod. We can't expect to connect with that divine source energy if we're not fully grounded, okay, and embodied. And this is what the horses embody. This is what they master. This is what they are attuning us to. The embodiment piece, the coherence piece, the alignment or congruency and integrity, authenticity, right? This is what they are attuning us to and always guiding us back home to ourselves for, right? Another saying I've mentioned in the past, Carolyn Resnick's, horses are the gatekeeper of our higher self. So in our relationship with horse, I truly feel they are not only bringing us back home to ourselves, but amplifying our connection to source. And so, and this already started coming through and wasn't even something I was necessarily planning on talking about. So there you have it, an example of a live transmission. So I actually have two stories now that I want to share with you about my Hannah Bear and how she helped me not only connect with the Celtic horse goddess Epona as one of my guides, but also to viscerally experience the medicine of the horse and my connection to source. So I'm looking at the time, and what I may do is split this into another video or part two, because I do want to share both stories and I think they're both important for different reasons. So I'm going to take you for this first story back to a time where I was really struggling with my chronic fatigue, my anxiety, depression. In case you don't know my story, I struggled with chronic fatigue, anxiety, and depression for over a decade. I was diagnosed with early onset Addison's, at one point chronic Lyme's disease. The depression was at times suicidal. I felt like my life had no meaning, no purpose. I was so lost after the loss of my first horse, Skipper, and my mom, which happened back in 2007, 3 months apart. And I was going to all the doctors, doing all the things, Eastern doctors, Western, allopathic, holistic. I did ayahuasca, I did detoxes out the yin yang, colonics, acupuncture, like you name it. I tried it, and yet my healing journey was so slow. Like there wasn't really anything that was moving the needle for me. And then one day, and at that time I was really spending like the majority of my time married to my mattress and horizontal, and literally like barely getting out of bed once or twice a day to feed and, check on the animals. And they were, at that time, in many ways, the only thing that was keeping me from fully like checking out. Anyway, this one day I'm not sure how I managed it, but I managed to make it outside, and in the moment had the like inspiration, the nudge to want to climb onto Hannah's back. And I had a halter, but I didn't use a saddle or anything. And I was so kind of at that time, again, chronically fatigued and tired, that really the fact was I mustered up what little strength that I had at that time to just crawl onto her back. And she was just grazing, and I couldn't believe that I made it to be sitting on top of her back. And then the most magical and miraculous thing happened. All of a sudden, as I was sitting on her back and I was listening to the birds chirping and feeling the breeze against my skin and seeing this like brilliant blue sky, I felt so connected. And I felt this like connected to all that is, to Gaia, to Source, to nature and the animal kingdom. Like I felt one with everything. And I also felt an inner peace that I don't think I'd ever experienced before. And all of the pain, all the sadness, all the anxiety, all of the emotions and struggles that I've been dealing with were like somehow in those few magical minutes gone. And all I wanted to do when I finally got off of her, I don't think the first time I stayed out there too long, but I wanted to bottle up that feeling. And as a result of that experience, not only did I start to feel a little better, and that inspired me to get out there and to keep doing that, right? But then in terms of wanting to bottle up that experience, I kind of began exploring different approaches to how could I actually create that feeling in my body again when I wasn't outside, when I wasn't on a horse's back, right? Because it was just so incredible, right? And so I started exploring, meditation and different energy healing modalities. And at the end of the day, that experience was, I feel, my initiation, if you will, or that activation to plugging in to something greater than myself, to plugging into Source via the medicine of the horse. And that was one of the most beautiful gifts that Hannah gave me. And so that feeling, again, which I tried to replicate in different ways, and nothing ever quite came close to the experience of the medicine of the horse. And I also began to discover, like when I would do meditations, that I couldn't actually, they would tell you to send those roots into the earth and all that, and I couldn't feel it. Like I just couldn't feel that. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was super disconnected from my body. I had been hanging out up here a lot, due in many ways from different layers and levels of trauma and PSTD from my childhood and my upbringing. And the medicine of the horse was born truly in that moment, in terms of helping me come back home to myself and again connect with Source in a way I hadn't before. And my religious background is a bit complicated. My father was Hindu, my mom was Buddhist, but then she converted to Christianity, and we were not raised with any predominant kind of religion. Like we might once every couple of years go to temple or something for like a puja, and didn't understand it because it was in this foreign language, and my parents, spoke English at home because they're two different cultures and backgrounds. And so there was like identity complex, and the religion and spirituality was, wasn't really there. And growing up, I was just always just drawn to the animals and nature. And then when I first met horse, that was it, right? So Anyway, I'm sharing this story with you because maybe you can think about a time, maybe it is something else for you. Maybe it's horse also. Maybe it's doing yoga. Maybe it is meditation. Maybe it's doing art or dancing. There is, I think each one of us is wired in different ways to connect with source, and there isn't a right way or a wrong way. It's the way that you're designed, right? But the question is, are you plugging into source? You know, I've said this before, but we plug our cell phone in every day, right, to charge our phone up. Are you charging yourself up with source energy? Because here's the thing, when we are strictly in our human selves, and don't get me wrong, like, yes, we get to be human, but when we're coming from our human self all the time, the human self is the part of us who is rooted in survival mode and fear and doubt and lack, right? That part of us, when we let that part of us like make our decisions or run our life, then chances are you're gonna be stuck in survival mode. You're gonna be not perhaps experiencing the level of peace or success or health or wealth that you desire. And yes, there's always a next level. And do you want to do it the hard way, the human way, the efforting way? Or do you want to do it again with a little more ease and grace, with a little more divine support? Which is the reason I felt called to do my summer softening experience that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, called EPONA'S FLAME. And so, you know, the question begs, how much of the time are you spending hanging out as your human self, hustling, pushing, forcing, striving, efforting, performing, like all the things, right? Like, do you allow yourself to, like, can you just be? Can you rest without feeling guilty? This was a huge one for me for years, even when I was in that season of being really sick. I felt it made me feel so worthless that my body needed to rest and was so tired all the time. And that I wasn't doing anything to, you know, be of service or create impact or create fulfillment, right? And what I have learned is that when we're plugged into source, when I am plugged into source, and when I'm aligned with the source codes and the source energies and the source guidance, that's when things flow more easily. That's when the magic and miracles happen. That's when, you know, most of all, that sense of peace, right? And that sense of connection to the divine truth, the higher truth of infinite possibility versus the lies of separation, the lies of, you know, the being an illusion, right? The lies of scarcity, the lies of societal conditioning and training that the world at this point is so kind of designed to distract us and derail us and dysregulate us from that higher truth, which is peace and bliss and support and provision and protection. And I am not saying that by any means that I am perfect. I am a work in progress, but all I know is I am really feeling called to go to my next level and connect with my source self, my higher self, and embody her and that frequency more than my human self, more than that part of me that can default to certain patterns and beliefs and habits that are really not serving me and not helping me. And I hesitate to say get where I want to go, but helping me become the woman who already has the thing, become the woman who magically and magnetically attracts the things, the opportunities, the people, the clients, the, abundance, all the things, right? Without me having to chase and push an effort for them. And again, I'm not saying there isn't some strategy, some work, some doing. Like I'm creating this video, but I love doing this. Like I love creating content. I love, it's like this creative expression, and I feel like I am channeling this message and transmission from source, from my heart, from my soul, with the intention of helping those I'm meant to serve rise and activate a higher truth, a higher power, a higher potential, a higher purpose in you if you're listening to this. And so, I feel like the essence of what I want to share today to pull this all together has to do with how horse, again, is that portal to source, because horse is not only helping us to ground and connect with the earth and the seasons and the cycles, but also to come back home to ourselves. And when we do that, we can more fully connect with that divine intelligence that is always within us and all around us. But we have to slow down long enough to do that. And we also don't get to just do it once, right? And expect, everything to shift overnight. It is a devotion, right? It is a devotion to your calling. It is a devotion to that inner sacred flame within. It is a devotion to plugging into that part of you that literally holds the keys to unlocking your greatest potential in all the ways, with your horse, with your work, with your health, with your relationships, and beyond. Because that saying that people say, you have everything you need already, and I used to hear that years ago, and I never quite got it until one day it clicked. And that is because the answers are within us, but we need to be still to hear them, to hear the messages, to receive the information. Everyone's going to be different. Maybe you hear the message, maybe you feel the energy, maybe you get an image, right? We all receive energy a little bit differently depending on how you're wired. But still, we all have the capability, the ability to receive them. It's just a matter of slowing down and turning off and out the noise, right? The noise of, social media and just everything that's going on out there that, again, is so dysregulating that now you've got to do extra work to calm your nervous system and all the things. and something I've been realizing more and more. And I feel like I needed to go through all of it to kind of come back to this place and space to be reminded, is that while all of the incredible things that I've been doing over the years, the somatic work, the nervous system work, the embodiment work, the channeling, like all the things, that really all of those things are the path and the portal, including, again, horse, to connecting with source. All of the things, it's not about like doing them to get something. Like, yes, we can do them to want to maybe shift our energy and feel better. But I used to think, oh, if I meditate and journal and do my breath work every single day, then I'll manifest XYZ, whatever my goal was at the time. But in reality, I was missing the boat, because it's really about, again, who are we being and how do I want to feel? Do I want to feel relaxed and joyful and peaceful today? And whatever that thing is on any given day, whether it's doing a meditation, listening to my own meditations or transmissions, and or even channeling a transmission. Oftentimes for me, channeling a transmission, whether it's a video, audio, or like an energetic activation audio meditation process, makes me come alive. And that's how I know that I'm fulfilling my soul's work, right? Because another key piece is, how is it making you feel? Is it making you come alive? Is it giving you energy, or is it taking energy away? And this is where we get to take inventory around the things that we are doing and spending our time and energy with, whether personal or professional. Are they filling our cup, or are they depleting us, right? Are certain relationships draining you? So these are all like really powerful questions and pieces to reflect on. And, you know, my recipe or formula for doing all the things may not be the same as yours. So I really want you to check in with you. Like, what are the things that you do, that you're drawn to do, that help you not only come alive, but connect to source, where you lose track of time. Maybe you're doing, you know, you love to do artwork, or, you know, again, music, or sing, or be with the horses, like that thing that just comes through you, where time, you know, time stands still, you lose track of time. This is when you're collapsing time. This is when you know you're aligned with your purpose and your calling. And it doesn't have to be a vocation or a job. It can be a hobby or a passion project or whatever it is literally the thing that not only is making you come alive, it is plugging you into source, right? Because when you're plugging into source, that's again, the phone analogy. You plug your phone in to charge it, right? What is your way of plugging into source? I want to hear, let me know down below. I would love to know, what is your favorite way to plug into source? So leave that down below. I truly hope you enjoyed today's transmission and a bit of story time, and it was a very sacred story for me to share. So yeah, thank you for being here, and we will be continuing the conversation very soon. If you are still here, thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for subscribing if you haven't already, sharing the love, all the things. Ciao for now. I love you. Namaste.